Every child is unique and every child is a star. As parents, we're often concerned about developmental milestones, and as much as we may try not to, there's often a tendency to compare. My child did this at this age, and that child did it at that age, etc. We all know that it's wrong to compare and to judge. On my show, I often say, and in fact it's based on a quote by Gwyneth Paltrow, one should never judge another parent or another child because each one's situation is different. On the show today, we meet the wonderful Bobby Deol, who is on the advisory board of the Gateway School of Mumbai, founded by Indira Bodani, a school that helps empower children with special needs.
Kids are like gods. They're like so pure, they're so innocent, and you cannot let them feel that they're different from the other kids around them.
We work with each child at an individual level. So our child is always at the center and there are circles of support. That's really the most important thing that Gateway wants to provide, and in partnership with parents.
And an inspirational chat with parents who share their personal experiences of bringing up children with special needs.
One thing I've realized over the years, you never stop working. Instead of trying to focus on what they can't do, you have to focus on what they can do.
We have so many role models within the spectrum, so your child could be one of them.
We met a wonderful duo who are doing great work to help eradicate these comparisons and to empower children to develop at their own pace. Bobby Deol, who is a famous actor and a great friend to Indira Bodani, who founded the Gateway School of Mumbai that empowers children with learning challenges. Today we have with us a fantastic son, a doting dad, and a wonderful human being who I'm very happy to have worked with a long time ago, the fantastic actor Bobby Deol. Bobby is also an advisory board member of the Gateway School, which is a wonderful school for children with special needs founded by Indira Bodani. And Indira is also a mum to her 2 boys. Thank you both of you for being on the show. So to start with, Indira, you've started this Gateway School.
Right.
I know for you the journey has been very personal because your son, your elder son, has had and has some special needs.
Some special needs, yes.
So how did you first know that there was something amiss?
I laugh about it now because my son is 17, but it was really hard. My son Yuvraj had seizures when he was 1 year and 5 months. And that's when we realized that he's had a slight brain damage, and because of that, he's had the seizures. And so that's where our journey started, honestly. That's where we actually picked it up. And I'm actually quite happy that the seizures came, otherwise we would have never known for a very long time, and the intervention wouldn't have happened as quickly as we did when he was 1 year and 5 months, and it probably would have happened much later.
So I guess in some ways it was a blessing in disguise that it happened like that.
Yes.
And
though it was very scary. I think that's when my husband and me always say that we lost our sleep. Because that's when you constantly worry that is he going to have a seizure again.
Yeah.
But more than the seizures, it was later on that we realized the difficulties he would have.
I know that you're very close to Bobby and Tanya.
Yes.
And I know Bobby's always been very, very supportive.
Right.
So Bobby, tell us a bit about your relationship with Yuvraj.
The reason why we become such good friends is because of Yuvraj. Not anything else, but just kids with like what he has, a difficulty of understanding and everything, is they get attracted to certain things. And he loves movies. Right?
He's a Bollywood freak.
So what's the best way to connect with a child is when they like something, so you can use that to connect.
Yeah.
And he really connected with me because for him it was the first time he was seeing an actor.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful because there was so much of love in his eyes just to see me, and he doesn't even know me. And then suddenly he fell unwell, and I felt so bad.
That he would spend he would come in the mornings and he would leave late night.
That's
No,
so
I know,
amazing.
so that's how, I mean, I always say that thanks to you, Raj, that I got to know what these issues are all about, and also I got to meet Indira and Dharmil, because according to me, it's the parents that can help the child the most.
Yeah.
Because the outside world will never understand a child. And I'm not trying to say it in front of Indira, but I think it's more of Indira. She's a tough woman.
Yeah.
And I know that if Dharmil didn't have Indira, he wouldn't have been able to cope with such an issue.
But you know, that's so wonderful. And honestly, Bobby, it's really commendable also as a third person to be able to have seen this and have that kind of empathy.
Kids are like gods. I mean, they're like so pure, they're so innocent, and people don't understand them. And now Indira started the school.
Yeah.
No,
She really wanted to do it. And Dharmil and his family was there for it. And
If it wasn't for my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, he was the one. I mean, I know lots of grandparents who are like dote over their grandchildren, but these grandparents are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's easy for a parent to want to do a lot for their child because you realize how important it is, but to get that support from a family.
Yeah.
And because of such amazing love we get from the parents and from, of course, my in-laws, if it wasn't for them, I don't think Gateway would have reached, I think Gateway is an amazing institution by itself.
Usually whenever I've been to the school and the kids are so wonderful. I mean, you have to just talk to them normally.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out of your way to behave anything different. You might think that the child doesn't understand that.
They
do understand that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you cannot let them feel that they're different from the other kids around them.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And the society around, I mean, they have to understand that. But it is changing in India. Things were not like that before. People didn't understand it. But now people are aware. They want to understand it.
Absolutely.
And Gateway has done amazing. You know, there's so many kids there who are being helped with issues, with their difficulties.
Yeah.
See, it's not so easy to set up a school like that. And then the kids which are there, they have different levels of difficulties.
Yeah.
Right? But what happens is, there's so many parents who are desperate for the kids to be in a school which can understand them. They think that Gateway can provide for everything. Gateway is just growing. It's growing right now. So it's trying to provide as much as they can with every child who has a different difficulty.
Need. Yeah.
So people get upset.
If they can't. Yeah.
Because you can't blame parents to get upset.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
You know,
like the most difficult thing for us.
but-
I think in India, when they talk about special needs, they just think everybody falls under that. But honestly, each child is so different. So every time a child comes to us, once the child fits our criteria, we take them on because we know we have these expertise.
Yeah.
And after that, the child is an individual. So we have individualized programs.
Yeah.
So we work with each child at an individual level. So our child is always at the center and there are circles of support.
Yeah.
That's really the most important thing that Gateway wants to provide, and in partnership with parents. Parents are an essential part of this journey because if the parents and the school are not together, you're not going to see any success.
So, Indira, you also got a younger son.
Right.
So, the decision to have another son and the support that he gives Yuvraj and the other way around, what's their relationship?
The equation, yes. So we took a very long time to have another child. We felt that this world is tough, and then to have a sibling who has special needs, it's probably going to be tougher because at that time we didn't really see the challenges. It was because Yuvraj, I'm not saying was a difficult child, but just his difficulties were, I was just understanding that. And I was nervous because I was worried that if my other child has the same or similar difficulties, that would be a little scary. But for Veer, he observes. At 1.5, he asked me, he says, why is my brother different? Like, he's not similar to a lot of other kids I see around me, but he actually has a great understanding of his brother.
Yeah.
And after we started Gateway,
he
realized that, there are many kids who are affected, and Veer realizes that his brother has difficulty in, almost every moment.
But I think what's wonderful is that he'll always, grow up to have that empathy. And I think that's what shows like this. Hopefully, it's about raising that awareness. I realize actually being honest, as you said, is so much the best because they know, as you said. And I think if they realize that just because someone's different, that doesn't mean they're more normal or less normal.
Yes,
everyone's perfect in their own way.
And my boys also, I mean, all 4 of them, they play and they know how Yuvraj is, but they don't let him feel that.
Absolutely,
and they actually understand that.
Now, Bobby, coming to you, we know you're a wonderful dad. So are you a hands-on dad?
Well, when I was growing up, it was always the mother who was always around. Dad's always busy working. But my wife works, but she still is always with the kids. If there's studying time or if there's exams or if there's a doctor issue, I can't take the pressure.
So basically you're saying that she still wears the pants in the family.
No, she's the bad cop, I'm the good cop.
Okay. So, but you're hands-on.
Yeah,
you're the good cop, but you're hands-on.
I spend as much as time I can with my sons. I mean, when I was growing up, my dad was busy working. And my dad used to even sleep at the studios.
Yeah.
So I used to hardly get to meet him. So when I started working, I decided that as much as I can, whenever I'm free, I want to be home with the kids.
Yeah. So are you a friend to your boys or are you like a daddy figure?
I always wanted to be friends with my dad and it was difficult. But then I've tried to be as much a friend I can be with them because it's important when you grow older, they need to be open with you and they have to not be scared or shy of talking to you.
No, but he's an amazing dad and he's an amazing, friend to my sons.
We did this movie, Bardasht, and I was very new to films and I was quite nervous.
Yes.
And I remember very kindly, he and Tanya invited me to their farmhouse. And I remember their elder son, I think, was very little at the time. And I didn't know, I wasn't married. I didn't have any clue about when babies do whatever they do. But I knew that babies usually wake up really early and moms don't sleep and all. And I was most impressed with Tanya. So I hope you're watching. Because Bobby said, you know, you have to get kids to do what you want to do. So at the start, you have to make it clear that they have to sleep earlier or later, whatever they adjusted, which I think is great.
Yeah,
you know,
they do that when they're
that.
small,
So,
but now
yeah,
my older
once,
one is
yeah.
grown up.
so now things
It's
are...
that age where he's, you know, every kid goes through that. So he doesn't like to sleep early.
Okay, we're not there yet. I'm long past 5 and 7, so I'm sure that starts happening now, and they're like telling you what they want and stuff. But I think it's really been amazing. So, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone out there who's either got a child with
See,
special
the most
needs
important thing is that people should not ignore when they feel that something is wrong with their child.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult for parents to come to terms with it.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if they don't want to come to terms with that, they'll only make life more miserable for that child.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways to find out and not ignore it or, you know, shut their eyes towards it and believe there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I know as a parent, it is the hardest thing to see anything different about your child because that honestly brings a lot of insecurity. You think about the future. That's the only thing I would say till very recent. That was all that I would worry about. Like, what's going to happen to my son after I'm gone? But honestly, you give them the skills. You focus on their strengths and build on that. And then, I mean, for everyone, you have to worry. It's not only your special needs child.
Yeah.
But as a parent, you know that if you give your child, this is a gift you can give your child.
Yeah.
Special or not special.
It's been really eye-opening for me. I hope this is, you know, helpful and interesting to viewers as well, because I think it's relevant for everyone. And I think every child is special and every child is a star. So I'm sure Yuvraj will follow in Bobby's footsteps and be dancing his way to glory. So I hope he's watching too. And thank you both so much for being on the show.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you. It was great chatting with Bobby and Indira. And their commitment and dedication to this wonderful school and this cause is truly inspirational.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The Gateway School of Mumbai is dedicated to empowering children with learning challenges and their families and the professionals that support them.
Ayana, point to the small b. Point to the small b.
Their intention is to help students develop the skills, knowledge, understandings and attitudes necessary for them to lead fulfilling and productive lives as independent and successful individuals and contribute actively to society. Coming up, a heartwarming conversation with parents who talk about raising children with special needs.
When parents compare their children or speak about their children's accomplishments and you are there, just to be a little sensitive to understand that we can't be talking so much about our kids. Our kids have little achievements, but you know, those are great for us.
Of course. On our show, we did an episode on overcoming obstacles, and on it, one of our guests mentioned how she wishes she could have spoken to a mental health professional when she was going through a particularly difficult time. More and more people are speaking about how physical well-being is equally important to mental well-being when it comes to holistic well-being. Today we have with us two wonderful parents of very special children. We have with us Shalini, who's got two gorgeous little girls, Latika and Naintara. Thank you, Shalini, for being on the show. And we've got Santosh, who is a dad to his 12-year-old son, Rajdeep. Thank you very much for being on the show too.
Thank you for inviting us.
So to start at the beginning, when your kids were very, very little, how did you first discover that there was something a little different?
When she was around 1 year old, I could sense some intuition that something is not okay with my child. And I would keep mentioning it to my, family members, but they would just sort of say, no, you're a little hyper. Maybe I was a little hyper mom, that there's nothing wrong with her. She'll just be fine and all. But then around 17 months, her milestones were delayed very much. She was not walking actually. She was standing on her toes, not eating properly. She was very weak. There were a lot of things like that. And then that time, I think everybody else saw it, and then we started investigating further. She was not like on the spectrum at that point of time, but other milestones were delaying.
I know that one thing I've seen from autism spectrum is very wide. I think of it as a rainbow, and someone could fall on any part of it and perhaps be very borderline. Shalini, for you, as you mentioned, Nayanthara is perhaps somewhere on the spectrum, but there are also other issues.
Like ADD. You have an autism spectrum, you have classic autism. A child doesn't make eye contact, doesn't even talk, and many of them don't have speech. And then you have the milder ones where you have some symptoms of autism, but not the full-blown autism.
Right.
And then that ADD or ADHD often overlap.
So what is ADHD?
ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay.
The child lacks the focus. The attention span is very, very narrow. The therapies and the education system thereafter, would help the child to, broaden the focus.
Okay.
And help him focus on an activity for a longer duration of time.
So Santosh, what were the first signs that alerted you and your wife that there was something different?
When Rajdeep was about 7 months, he had his first bout of febrile seizures.
Okay.
And we met the best of the doctors, and he said this is too early to even identify. So about after 2 years, we put him through the tests, and that was the time when we realized that he's onto the end spectrum of ADHD. We were lucky to identify this so early.
Yes.
So that early intervention could happen, and we could take it from that point.
Yeah. So I think this is a word that I hear a lot, is early intervention.
True.
Yet I also find that with a lot of parents say that the detection actually happened much later, because in many cases it's such a gray area.
Parents have to be a little bit more alert when your child is growing about the milestones.
Okay.
It may not be autism, it may be ADHD, or it may be something else, but at the end of the day, it is all a neurodevelopment similar kind of thing.
Right.
Parents have this very strong instinct. We are all born with it.
Yeah.
And we have to just go along with that. We feel that something's not right. It's very important you do as much as possible early.
I know you're both your children are in a wonderful school which has great facilities, but what's your view on inclusion and integration and the choice of school?
Rajdeep was part of a mainstream school.
Right.
Inclusive education, in my opinion, is just still a term that is being used.
Right.
And it's pretty difficult in our country to actually implement it on the ground level, because there's too much of resource limitations. You need special educators who are specially trained for this activity. So my son went into a mainstream school, and that's where, he faced rejection. He had to be put on some medication which actually killed his appetite and his sleep both.
Oh,
He didn't grow physically as well.
Right.
And in a typical classroom structure, it's pretty difficult for a child who comes with his special difficulties.
Yes.
And we are very lucky, I would say, that after a lot of research going around in the special schools, we found about Gateway School of Mumbai.
Right. Right.
And this school actually has transformed our son. It's about 3 years now, he's in the 4th year. And there's a phenomenal change in this child.
The school is really, really amazing. I mean, I think these kids cannot function in a classroom of 40, 30 children. I've seen my daughter, she was going to kindergarten school, and there in a class of 20, she was struggling.
Right.
In that school, the child which sort of gets left behind in one corner.
Right.
So, I mean, I didn't put her in a mainstream school. I put her directly to Gateway. She was 5.5 when she joined. And it's made a world of a difference in her confidence. The future is always something which I think we don't dwell on much. The effort you put in and the results that come out, either very little or very delayed. And with special needs, one thing I've realized over the years, you never stop working.
Acceptance is the biggest wall. And the earlier you break it off, faster your child can develop.
As much as we say we shouldn't care what people think, I still think we do live in a society where, unfortunately, people do pass judgments, and perhaps they're not always invited judgments. Have you ever faced any sort of nasty comments or anything like that?
Not nasty comments, but sometimes I feel like, when parents compare their children or speak about their children's accomplishments, and you are there, and just to be a little sensitive,
Yes.
to understand that we can't be talking so much about our kids. Our kids have little achievements, but Those
But
are
those
great.
are big
Those are
achievements.
great for us.
Of course. Now, speaking about the future, once you've actually identified what exactly the condition is that something that concerns you? Is that something that you sort of dwell over? Or do you think that, of course, it's all going to be fine?
The future is always something which I think we don't dwell on much. Here, the thing is that the effort you put in and the results that come out, either very little or very delayed, and with special needs, one thing I've realized over the years, you never stop working.
You as a parent know your child best. So when you see those milestones and those achievements, it must be so rewarding to see when they've crossed that big, hurdle.
Instead of trying to focus on what they can't do, you have to focus on what they can do.
Yes.
And each of them can do some things beautifully.
Yes.
Just encouraging them to do that and focusing on the positives instead of harping on the negatives is what we have to do all the time.
Absolutely.
Most parents have an issue of rejection. And that's where the biggest difficulty arises. The acceptance is the biggest wall,
Yeah.
And the earlier you break it off, faster your child can develop.
Yeah.
All of us are seeing the Rio Olympics.
Yes.
Michael Phelps, 21 Olympic gold medals. He himself is ADHD.
Really? Yes.
Albert Einstein, Newton, they were ADHD.
Yes.
So, we have so many role models within the spectrum. So, your child could be one of them. You never know.
Absolutely. And I think what's really lovely is the positivity. And I think that's what I always say on the show, that the main reason to do this show is raising awareness, having conversations, that there are now slowly more and more, great schools and facilities that can help a child develop to their full potential. And on that note, thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
This has truly been an eye-opening episode for me, as I hope it's been for you too. And it reiterates to me that every child and every adult is unique and special in their own way. With the right infrastructure and support, everyone can achieve their dreams and the independence and dignity to live their life the way they want to. To interact with me, do write in to our social media handles. And for latest updates, do log on to our website. Till we meet again, bye-bye. Next week, the first year after a baby is born is filled with new joys, excitement and learnings. Baby Kai was born today. He's not even a day old. He's 9 hours old. We also meet a few young mothers and celebrities who tell us more about their early days as parents.
I was very much excited for the new things coming in my life. My baby was bringing a lot of happiness already.
First 2 years with twins is always, a little harder. But after that, it's double fun. My husband has been a great support. I always call him as a second mommy to my twins.
Motherhood changes everybody. It made me softer. It's made me a kinder person.
When Ayan was born, a very energetic kid, still is. And those are the things I remember, his laugh and his smile. He used to keep laughing. It was the easiest thing to make Ayan laugh. It's something that still, I hear the echoes of it.